pay our respects to their elders and to the elders from other communities who may be here today. Thank you. Are there any apologies for tonight's meeting?
There are, Mayor. Thank you. Through you, Councillor Beers, there's an apology this evening.
Thank you. Any other apologies? You're the only one who received at this stage, so thank you. Yeah. Councillors, we have a recommendation that Council adopt the minutes of the Council meeting held on Wednesday, the 11th of May, 2022. Do I have someone to move that resolution, please, Councillors? Councillor Getman, move that. Let's second that. Councillor Moore, second. Thank you very much. Councillor Moore, any opposition? Councillors? All in favour?
Yes.
Thank you. That's clear. Thank you, Councillors. Requests for leave of absence.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, through you, we do have a request from Councillor Beers for a leave of absence commencing tomorrow, the 9th of June. And the Council has requested that he return from the leave of absence on the 12th of July.
Thank you. Councillors, do I have someone to move that? Thank you, Councillor Pollard. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Smith, a second that. Any opposition, councillors? All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. That's carried. Declaration of pecuniary and conflicts of interest. Councillors, in accordance with section 132 of the Local Government Act 2020, councillors who have a conflict of interest in respect of the matter being considered at this meeting must disclose the conflict of interest in the manner required by Council's Governance Rules 2020 and exclude themselves from the decision-making process in relation to that matter, including any discussion or vote on the matter at any council meeting or delegated committee and any action in relation to the matter. Councillors, are there any disclosures at this stage? No? Thank you, councillors. 6, questions from the public. We don't have any questions from the public at this stage. Okay, good. No, Councillor Simpson, I think he's just popped in. Connection issues, good. I'll just go through the. Can you hear us, Councillor Simpson? Not yet. So move forward if we can't hear it. Just have some connection issues at this stage. It appears to be in order. Right. Test. Yep.
So we're active, so she should be able to hear us.
Councillor Simpson, can you hear us? If you can give us a sign from the other side, please. Would you prove, Councillor Simpson?
Okay, now it's still connected to the audio now. That's just the status has changed.
Okay. Any progress at that end, Councillor Simpson? Do we have connection, Councillor Simpson? Can you hear us, Councillor Simpson? Councillor Simpson? Yeah. Actually received, she's getting the text message, so we can just check the status.
Just want to get those on there.
Yeah, we're just trying to establish connection. Can you read that on the screen somewhere?
I don't seem to be able to get any sound.
No, okay, yeah, neither could we. If we can respond. She's just sent us a message to say she can't get any sound. Yeah. So if you could respond, I think you say, well, we have a technical issue. My reading was to see like code protocols in terms of rules that where we have trouble with connection. Hello?
Yeah, that's it.
Might be. No. We might have to. Short time. Is there something coming through now?
Councillor Simpson, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can, thank you.
No, well, we can't see you. We can hear you. Right?
Oh, okay, I can see you.
Okay, we can see you now. Okay, look, we'll just go back a yard. We do have a councillor joining us by virtually. So as part of that tonight's proceedings, I need to establish that Councillor Simpson, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Can you see us, Councillor Simpson?
Yes, I can.
And at our end, we can see and hear you. So we've established a connection there. Now, during the course of the meeting, if we do lose connection, as per our protocols, we will just take a stop while we re-establish the connection for the meeting. So if that happens, we will carry on and try and re-establish a connection to you out there. So look, thank you. We're up to question number 6, questions from the public. At this stage, we have no questions from the public. So that would be there. So 7.1 procedural item. A list of congratulations and recognition of achievement awards. Councillors, we have at this stage a letter of achievement that congratulations for Dr. Anne Webster on her re-election as a government member for Mallee. Are there any others, councillors, that you may have? Councillor Stewart, thank you.
I've got one for the Charlton Harness Racing Club.
Yep.
They were recently awarded Best Presented Venue and Country Club of the Year at the Country Club Awards on Monday evening.
Okay. Thank you. Any others, councillors? We need to acknowledge.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I can, please.
Yes, councillor.
The virtual watch on under 14 netball, football girls made the grand final on Friday night in Swan Hill by a point. Which I think what I'd like to see is just a letter of congratulations to the girls. I will supply the name, but my phone is playing up. I've got it on Facebook from the organising mob, but I'll get it through to you. But it will include the list of girls and coach.
Okay. Is that the sort of only female comp at that level at this stage?
It is
Go
male.
to Swan Hill.
We have another club in our shire, which is Sea Lake. They have a girls team, and I think there's 3 Swan Hill teams. Sea Lake, and I'm not sure who the other one is, but yeah. But anyway, I mean, my point is that I'd like to just congratulate them on being the first. One of the first teams in Buloke and making the round one.
Excellent.
And last time a controversial decision. So.
But an umpire decision. Should we be writing to the Umpires Association as well?
No, we'll leave that out.
Councillor Simpson, anything to add to that or not at this stage?
Not at this stage, thank you.
Councillors, we do have a recommendation for those 3 particular letters, and I'm sure the people involved will pass on the information to CA. So, look, at the recommendation is the council acknowledge and congratulate the persons and groups mentioned in the report for their achievements. Do I have someone to move that recommendation? Councillor Stewart to move that. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Pollard. Any opposition, councillors? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 7.2, report of councillor assemblies. Councillors, we have a report to note that the assemblies held on the 4th and 18th of May 2020. They've circulated with there. Do I have someone to move that we note those reports of those meetings, councillors? Councillor Geppi to move by the second.
Happy to
second that. Any opposition, councillors? Any amendments? Vote all in favour. Thank you, councillors. 7.3, correspondence initiated by council. Councillors, we have a record of correspondence that has been initiated. Any updates, staff?
No, Mayor, those updated letters have been sent with no responses since the preparation of this report.
Thank you, Mr. Roadshaw. Council, we have a recommendation that we note the record of correspondence initiated by council and the responses received. Do I have someone to move that report? Thank you, Councillor Moore. Seconder. Councillor Pollard, second that. Any opposition, councillors? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 7.4, building permits monthly update. Again, councillors, a report for note. Any questions on that particular report to staff? Just, staff could. I did have a call some months ago regarding Murray Street in Watcher. I think it's been an ongoing situation with that address. I noticed here that there's been an approval to finish the dwelling to lock up. Are all those issues being resolved with that particular?
Mayor, I need to take that on notice. I'm not aware that there are any outstanding issues, but I'll just clarify that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much. Just sort of noted that I did have a couple of phone calls from a ratepayer that has an interest in that property. Anyway, no other questions, councillors? Thank you. So, councillors, we do have the report to note. So, do Do I have someone to move this particular report?
Yeah, do that, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Getley, someone to second that? Councillor Stewart to second that. Any opposition, councillors? Put that to the vote. All in favour? Thank you, councillors. Again, 7.5, planning applications received the monthly update. Again, councillors, it's a report for noting. Any questions at this stage on that report? No.
Not to me.
Thank you, councillors. So we do have this report to note. Do I have someone to move that we note the report and the applications contained in there? Councillor Pollard, thank you. And second,
Councillor.
Oh, Councillor Simpson, thank you, Councillor Simpson. You might have to yell out, if you can yell out, just so we know.
Can try.
So there. Any opposition, councillors? Yes, okay, thank you, councillors. 7.6, a joint link with the Shire, the Buloke Maternal and Child Health Service, Director of Community Development.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, councillors, tonight we're giving a report in response to a joint letter table at Council's May meeting in relation to maternal and child health services. Senior officers and councillors have met with some of the residents over the past few months to better understand and address their concerns. And councillors welcomed a deputation from a group of concerned parents at their 18-May briefing on the subject. Council is committed to providing a high-quality maternal and child health service for all Buloke families, and it is recommended we write the first signatory on the letter as per Council's governance rules.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbon. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Getley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Fitzgibbon, I've just a note of the recommendation said that act upon anything that hasn't been acted upon, like any business. Is there any business that they've written to us that has not been acted upon?
They have broached a couple of subjects that they haven't explicitly outlined before, but given Council's good faith with the group and the importance of the service, we have in the letter that's been drafted and we've sent to the MAB to have them look at, we have still broached each item that they've brought up, but the governance rules state that you should be, you can respond only to matters and business that haven't been brought to Council before.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillors, we do have a recommendation that council writes to the first signatory of the letter addressing any business contained within the letter that has not been acted upon in accordance with Buloke Shire Council governance rules. Do I have someone to move that recommendation? Councillor Mill will move that. Do I have a second, please? Councillor Getley, second. Thank you. Any opposition, councillors? I'll put that to the vote. All in favour? Thank you, councillors. 7.7, status and action of past council meeting resolutions. CEO.
Thank you, Mayor.
I believe you had the honour.
I do indeed. So I'm pleased to bring this new report through to councillors, which is just providing a monthly update on actions against resolutions on an ongoing basis. So this report is for noting by councillors. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Toole. Any questions, councillors?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, very good, Mr. O'Toole. I think it's a good way of keeping us informed. It's obviously very difficult to be informed on everything all the time, but with a report like this, we can certainly see what's happening. So I commend you on that too.
Thank you. Any other comment, councillors? Councillor, we do have, this is just a noting, of course. Do I have someone to move that we note this report?
Happy to, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Getley, to move that. Do I have a second up? Councillor Stewart, second. Any opposition, councillors? I'll put that to the vote. All in favour? Yep. Carried. Thank you, councillors. 8, general business. 8.1, policy reports. At this stage, it says nil. 8.2, management report. 8.21, submissions of the draft budget 2022-2023. Now, we have received submissions. Now, I'll go to the The CEO.
Thank you. Yes, we have, as at midday today, received 5 submissions, namely from the Buloke Neighbourhood House Cluster, a number of submissions from Donald 2000, number 3, and the Charlton Forum. And we have a number of those submitters who would like to make a presentation to councillors this evening. Who's first?
So as the list suggests, we'll have the Buloke Neighbourhood House Cluster first.
Buloke Neighbourhood House Cluster. Thank you. So we've got Simone and Tina. Thank you.
Feel free to pull the chairs.
Yeah, she's taken.
Chairs.
We don't provide popcorn. Good evening, Simone. I can see you there. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. It's not very clear.
Yeah, okay. And Tina, can you hear us?
I can hear you, but it's not very clear.
Okay. I'm seeing if Tina is there now.
She's still connected by the
She's still.
look at that. So she's still connected to audio, so she's not
Okay.
quite with us. Try now.
Tina, welcome. Can you hear us?
Drop down again.
Dropped out. Technology is not our friend tonight. Simone, we're having a little bit of trouble connecting to Tina at this stage. So I don't know how you were going to do this as a joint presentation or what, but
I can present. There is an echo on the live stream.
Yep. Look, I think, Tina, are you with us? No, we don't seem to have Tina there. So, look, Simone, if you would like to lead off, please. And we'll see if we can get a message through to Tina. Thank you.
Everything's coming through in double. You will all had a copy of the letter. Our major question really was we presented a submission last year and we were allocated $2,000 in the annual budget, but we just didn't know if this was recurring or we have to reapply. And given that we're still in a phase of coming out of COVID, that has been just as difficult.
Yes.
We would like to propose an allocation of 5,000 each, which is what we'd asked for in last year's budget.
Got that?
And that's given that the conditions of coming out of COVID are probably more problematic in terms of there's more people in need. Less engagement of volunteers. So there's actually more activity trying to occur with less people involved in doing them. The cost of living's gone up, so we're seeing more community members that are experiencing hardship and requiring the services of likes of Donald that have a food bank. And some of the other houses who have received some vouchers and some funding from Haven Home Safe. to allocate to our community members in need. So we get the funding from Haven Home Safe to give direct to the clients, but we don't have any funding allocated to the actual house or the coordinators to provide that provision of service and to upskill the people so that they don't just continuously rely on hampers. And there's also other government projects that are being rolled out, like the power saving bonus, where community members are going to have to do a comparison of their government, of their power suppliers. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of capacity amongst that age group. And they'll be relying on their neighbourhood house to provide that service for them, as we did with the first $250 power saving bonus that was allocated to community members.
We've been able to establish connection with Tina, or she's just having trouble. And yeah, she's here.
Any questions? Answers on those questions.
Thank you, Simone. I take it that's the extent of that. Councillors at this stage, do we have any questions for Simone?
Not at this stage, Mr Mayor. It's a pretty clear request at this stage.
Thank you. So the process will be that we've got obviously your written documentation, your presentation. We will take this information away and we'll consider it at a briefing. Councillor? No?
Just a question through you, Mr Mayor. Is Tina able to supply anything that she wanted to say to add to this asset?
Thank you.
At a stage during the night or tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Councillor Milne, Tina has sent a message to say that she's having trouble with audio.
Yep.
Thank you.
But if she has anything to add, please send it through to staff and that'll be added to it. We can consider that as well in case there was something that was missed, but that's fine. But so at this stage, we propose to adopt the budget on the
29th of June.
29th of June. That is when we will adopt the budget, but in between that time, we will consider these submissions made by community members, no doubt in briefing next when we can sit down and have the benefit of time to consume these applications. So look, thank you for your input. It's good to get input from the community so that we know that someone's having a look at the council budget. So thank you very much for your attendance tonight.
So, Mayor, through you, next we have John McConville from Dollar 2000. So he will present solutions 2, 3 and 5, noting that Charlton Forum will not be submitting in person this evening.
Okay. So, would you prove Donald? Are you with us, Mr. McConville? Are you there, John? Still happening.
Might need to stand on the roof, Travis, with an antenna.
Sort of nice.
No? No. Right. Good evening, John. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Right, we can hear you. So, John, thanks for joining us tonight. Submission budget. Thanks for making the time to prepare something. So the floor is yours, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me put forward our submissions and our ideas. Firstly, I think we'd like to start with, in the budget, we've just gone through it, and this is a few comments from various members of the Donald 2000 committee. Excuse me. There's a couple of issues there, and one of the things is housing, which is common to all towns throughout the Buloke Shire, and I'd say throughout all of Victoria and possibly Australia, is that all of a sudden with COVID, with everything, as we all know, I'm not telling anything new here, we have no housing. And we're in a fortunate position within Donald that we've got a couple of big industries that are employing a lot of people, and we're struggling to house them. Hence, we're not getting people to come to work for us. So one of the ideas that have been kicked around, and we've done this in the past, Donald 2000 did this in the past, where we gave a rate relief to people building a new home within Donald or in Donald and District. And the rate relief was 12 months. Initially, we did it for 2 years, but then it got more expensive with the rates. So we gave them rate relief for 12 months. So Donald 2000 did that. We just, from what the funds and things we could raise throughout the area. But Yarriambiack Shire have got one. And what they're doing is if you've got a vacant block of land, and I'm sure you've all seen this, they will leave the rating as a vacant block of land for 3 years if you build a new house on it. So there's no money lost from the Shire. If it's a vacant block of land, obviously you get rates on a vacant block for 3 years. So once it's a house, then the rates can go up accordingly. So it's a little bit of effective attraction for building a new home, and it costs the Shire, the ratepayers, nothing. So it's just something that could be put in place. So something that maybe we should be thinking about. Whilst we're on the housing issue, we've been dragging the chain with identifying and acting upon land that could be used for housing. And what I'm getting to here is that every town identified years ago, and I'm saying years ago, land that could be rezoned into rural living. And so 3 acre, 5 acre lots. And I brought this up at the last meeting, and I don't wish to harp because there's a bit of an ulterior motive, and I say ulterior motive, but land identified is some of our land, which we could subdivide into 5 acre lots. Now, we started that in 2009. And I've sent Hannah some paperwork from way back then. Land was identified. Council agreed that there should be rural living areas and more areas opened up. And it looks like not much has happened. And so here we are in crisis for housing. That could have been done in the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And it would have, in our case here, there's a possibility that we could have had a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 10 new homes within the Shire. I believe that the Shires used to have a bit of a policy that they review every 10 years to decipher how the population was going, what was needed, what should happen as far as housing. And I'm not sure where that sits, and I'm not sure whether it still is what happens within the Shires. But we've sort of fallen behind with identifying, and again, we can blame COVID, identifying that we are in desperate need for housing, and we're in desperate need for workers and new people to move to all our towns, and we're not prepared. We're not ahead of the game. So we're hoping that something could be put in the new budget to maybe implement, maybe relook at that 10-year plan, implement some incentives, give people a hand to get on with it and maybe open up new land. We're finding within Donald that we're landlocked as far as services and things go. So if we do identify rural living, we can get around that with, maybe using solar on new homes, capturing your own water with water tanks, which we all do anyway, using septic systems instead of hooking up to GWM. So that's just one of the things that we're constantly kicking around. Now, as I brought up with the last meeting, we've identified some land. One of them is the old Croquet Club, which backs onto land behind the Catholic Church. Just this is more of an information thing. We haven't heard back from the Catholic Diocese, but they're pretty keen to do something, as in value that and sell it to us. We've approached a couple of developers, and we have one bloke out of Ballarat. He's really keen. He travels to Birchip regularly to play golf, and he knows Donald well. And he's very excited about doing something. But obviously, we've got to get all the groundwork done first. We'll leave the housing at there for a minute. Then we go on to, with climate change is a big issue, obviously. It's recognised now. We did not see anywhere in the budget where we're sort of aiming at a climate change or mitigation strategy. I'm not sure whether there is something, and if there is, it wasn't obvious. And so it's something that sort of hit us in the face a little bit. Maybe we should be aiming at electric vehicles or something for the Shire. Have we got something in place? Have we got maybe incentives, or are we taking up everything possible to do solar? I know with the EV charges and things that are going on with the streetscape, we're hooking into the mains rather than doing a solar powered setup. I don't know. I haven't got all of the answers there, but I definitely know that we have climate change, and I definitely know that we should be forthright and out the front doing something with that. Couple of things, just someone mentioned the Loddon Leadership Program. Now, this is just a bit of a shot in the dark, and it's something that the council obviously continues to fund. And in the last couple of years, and through no fault of anyone, we haven't had any takers to be part of it. So, that's just an example of, should we be still contributing to that? And you have your reasons for all of that, but that's just, maybe we could use the money somewhere else if it wasn't deemed to be necessary, or somehow we get some young leaders to take it up. Staff numbers is always going to be a bugbear with all ratepayers, and not sure how many people are employed by the Shire. It seems like we're losing quite a few, and we're losing some big players. And it seems like that the Shire is always looking for more recruits. Probably our question is, are a lot of these jobs necessary? And that's not for us to answer, but it's obviously we're helping to fund a lot of this, and we're just thinking, is it always necessary? We're down to, we've got no one to open the swimming pools and things, and we realise swimming pools run at a loss, but that's just an example that I brought up there. So, what is happening with the staff? What is happening? Why have we got a shortfall? We know we can't attract people here. Is it because of housing? Is it because of area remoteness? Is it, what is it? And if we can help with that, we'd love to jump in and give you a hand with that, but maybe we should be looking at something there as well. I think that's mostly the thing, but it's, probably the housing's a big thing. We should be encouraging, all of us, encouraging new housing, new businesses, more ratepayers, more population. That's what we're all aiming for, and that will help the cause. We have more money. So, that's it as far as the housing go. Would you like me to go straight on to the tradie park and a few things, or do we break and someone jumps in between?
Let's continue on, John, then we can come back to questions.
Okay, so I've just grabbed the papers here, that the Yarra Shire was going, and so, as I was saying, with the rate freeze the rate staying as a vacant block for 3 years, some of their requirements are that the new housing should have rainwater tank with a minimum capacity of 13,000 litres, residents to be fitted with solar hot water service or a heat pump, an EPA approved aerated wastewater treatment system for reuse to be installed, residents to be fitted with photovoltaic panels, e.g. all solar, 1 kilowatt minimum, so it'll be 6.6 should be minimum. Residents to be fitted with approved grey water reuse and irrigation system and achieve a 7-star energy rating, which is mainly now basic housing requirements. So, there's no big deal there. And so it's not that you're dictating to any new people coming to town. It's what has to happen anyway. But as I said, that is available. I can email that through to anyone if they'd like to have a copy of that. That's fine. So, Tradie Park, we've talked about this, and that was back in Juddy days. And And Wayne, you've jumped in now and taken it over and you're aware of it all, but there's a block of land for people who aren't aware, a block of land on Tower Road owned by the Shire, and it's next to Pico, and we've identified that it'd make a great tradie park. Now, a tradie park, brief explanation, is 4 or 5 sheds on the same block of land with a common area in the middle, e.g. a toilet, maybe an office, and they could share a forklift, so it could be housed there in the middle. So this is something that we've been at for a while, and that's why we're asking for some money to be put in the budget so that we can make this work. And the money, just to outline it, we're running into problems with sewage. It's outside the sewage area. So what happens now is if any new industry at the back of the estate starts, they are obligated to put the sewage in at their cost, and then it's handed back, gifted back to GWM. And a couple of the quotes that we've had for 2 businesses at the moment is anywhere up to $100,000 per person. And so this is, massive cost. And obviously, unless they're really committed, they won't go ahead with anything being built on the estate out there. So the money that we're asking for is that maybe we can help with the services. There's groundwork to be done on that block of land. In the 2011 floods, it was 300 mil underwater. We want to bring that up, obviously, to 500 mil above ground level. Donald 2000's already contracted a local to cart some dirt in there, which hasn't happened yet, mind you. So we're putting our money where our mouth is, and I've said that before, that we believe it should happen and it'll be really good for everyone. Part of the money we're looking for is consultants are needed, and with low pressures as far as GWM water supply, each new business has to have a fire design, fire services. And so they, again, once you put your tanks, your pumps, your hydrants and things, you're over $100,000. Again, a negative for anyone trying to start a business. So we need to get in and make sure that this new block of land is all compliant with all of this. So sewage, fire designs. We'd like to have 4 construction drawings, and so hence we have to employ an architect and someone who knows all the rules and regulations. So that's what we've got there now, and we're not just blowing in the wind here. Like, we've got 8 or 9 new tradie, or not new, they're young people that have left the area, learnt their trade, and they've come back to Donald. And of those people, we have 2 plumbers, 2 electricians, a concreter, 3 carpenters, and a truckie. And they're all in need of a factory or a shed. Some of them are working out of their father's shed, and the father wants his shed back in one case. If they're all in a common area, it works really well for freight, works really well with common area, common toilet. They could share things, e.g. a forklift, as I was saying. We get to keep our young guns there. Tradies are in a very, very good demand at the moment. You can't get one hell nor high water. And so these are the things that we as a community and we as a Shire certainly need to progress and complement any way we can. So that's the tradie park. I don't think there's anything else that I should be and could be. Well, there's lots of things, but that'll do for tonight. But they're the things that we as a Donald 2000 as a group consider to be very important. We need to be funding things. We're funding people, funding enterprise. We seem to be in a very fortunate position in Donald that people do come to us wanting to start businesses in and around, and we've put a lot of hard work in to make that happen. But we really need a hand to make sure that we've got somewhere, firstly, for them to live, and secondly, for them to start their business. So that's it for me.
Thanks, John. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Gatley?
Thanks. Evening, John. Just reading your proposals, you're looking for $100,000 for the blocks of land and $300 for the tradie park. Am I reading that correct, or you're looking for $300 in total?
I think it was 300 in total, Alan. We won't be too greedy there, but if you want to throw another 100, I'm quite happy to use it.
I thought that in that pocket, John. Thanks for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
Okay.
Councillors, other questions? No? Thank you, John.
Very good. Well, thank you for your time. Best of luck, everyone, and I hope it all goes well.
The process here is that we have to produce a budget on the 29th of June, but we'll take away this information and the discussions we have tonight and
Yes.
have a bit of a chin wag at our next briefing to pull this all together and consider all these submissions we've received. So thanks for your input tonight, John.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Bye.
So now we,
Thank you, Mayor. So the final submission was from Charles Foreman. They won't be presenting to us this evening, but just for councillors to note that the request is for an increase to the annual funding we provide to each of the forums from $1,000 to $2,000. That's sufficient. Charles Foreman made on behalf of all the other forums across the municipality.
thank you, Mr. Axel.
So would that be 10 forums, Mr. O'Toole?
That's correct.
Yeah. Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, can I just add to that in that Caroline asked members of the Buloke Tourism Board who represent their forums and progress committees about this subject, and that's where she got probably the full understanding of the fact that they're all in support of that request. So it's not a request that came just from her without any homework, but other than the fact that she'd also been to other forums who are not represented on the like there's 2 or 3 towns that don't come along. So she's also been in touch with those, but that's just as a way of background. Thank you.
Thank you. Look, councillors, we have a recommendation I've taken now that we received these submissions in respect of the draft 2022-2023 annual budget adopted for exhibition on the 11th of May. Do I have someone, councillor, to move that we receive those submissions, please? Councillor Follett to move. Do I have a seconder?
Very happy to move that.
Councillor
Second
Miller,
that,
second.
sorry. Second that.
Any opposition, councillors? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. That's carried. Thank you. We got there. Technology inspired everyone. 8.2.2. Correct me if I'm wrong. Community grants and sponsorship. Mr. Fitzgibbon.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, councillors, I'm pleased to present the Community Grants and Sponsorship Program report with 2 applications, both from the Community Sustainability Fund. The first is for $10,000 from that fund for the Donald Youth Group, and the second $10,000 from the same fund for the Donald Fund of Preschools Group. Councillors, in your table, that second one is correctly listed as a project support application. It is indeed an application to the Community Sustainability Grant pool, and minutes of this meeting will reflect that. I'm pleased to present this report to councillors for their consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbon. Councillors, any questions, comments? Councillor Mill?
Thank the staff for providing the requested extra information regarding these 2 applications. I mean, there was always going to be a good reason behind it, but having the full information was quite enlightening, and to the fact that it just made it so easy to understand and just exactly what was requested, and that both of them were very genuine in what they were setting out to do. So.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other councillors' comments or questions?
I just want to make a comment. I still have a few concerns about that second one in regards to the intention of our sustainability grant funding. I still don't really see that it is hitting the mark with what our original intention was for that, that particular grant fund. But anyway, that's just a comment.
But I think that's relevant from the point of view, and I think this goes to the amount of work that the staff have, which councillors asked them to do. And it probably doesn't answer everyone's questions, but I think in terms of transparency, and certainly in regard to the reports that are coming out of state government, that we're covering ourselves well, that it's very transparent. People can see that it's, look, it's going to the right areas, but I mean, take your comments on board. And I mean, there's always room for discussion about the suitability of the grant funds and so forth. We would not be doing our job if we didn't review them all the time and make them better. So councillors, councillor?
My final comment, if I can, through you, is that I do agree with Councillor Stewart that it is a hard one to fit into the sustainability project, but having the explanation that we had the other night did help. But I still think it does stretch the boundaries.
Yeah. Thanks, councillors. Council, we do have a recommendation. The council considers the following funding under the Community Grants Sponsorship Program: $10,000 Sustainability Fund grant to the Donald Youth Group and $10,000 Sustainability Fund grant to the Donald Mothers of Preschoolers. Do I have someone to move that recommendation? Councillor, get me to move it. Wait a seconder. Councillor Mills, second that. Do I have any opposition, councillors? I'll put that to the vote. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. Again, I just make a comment. I think it's great to see this amount of detail that, well, for argument's sake, if it's the Auditor General or ICAP or anyone having a look, they can see that it's just not on the back of a drink coaster, so to speak, which I believe some of them have been in the past, in other councils, of course. 8.2.3, Tourism Business Innovation Grants, Round 1. We haven't heard from you tonight. Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm pleased to present this report to the council this evening. By way of background, in 2021, council received funding from the Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions under the Tourism Infrastructure Program to deliver a 4-part project designed to support the creation of new experiences and attractions in regional Victoria. One of the key components of this program is the administration of a one-off grant program to fund tourism business pilots within the Buloke Shire Council over 2 rounds. The council released its first round in May of this year, and through that round received 9 applications. All applications were considered against the established criteria within the grant guidelines, and evaluations were undertaken by a panel comprising representatives from Women Rally Tourism Board, Regional Development Victoria, council staff and an independent tourism professional. The evaluation panel through this report is recommending council consider awarding the Virtual Popping Group $30,000 under this round. The group proposal includes conducting farm tours for those visiting the Buloke region to help them learn and understand more about the local farming system and practices. And the group will partner with local connections and farmers to deliver a tourism experience which will showcase local production and be complemented by a paddock to plate food experience. In the report, the evaluation panel would like it to be noted that all applications received under this funding program stream are highly commendable, and we're keen to ensure that unsuccessful applicants be further supported to achieve the objectives outlined in the proposals by various means. Officers would also like to take the opportunity to thank the evaluation panel members, Bernard Young, Darby Ryan and David Leakin, for their assistance with the evaluation process.
Thank you, Mrs. Hugh. Councillors, any questions?
Or a comment, Mr. Mayor?
Well, certainly.
Yeah, Mrs. Hugh, very good. I think the number of applications shows how keen our community is to get tourism up and running in the Shire and to promote it. Obviously, there's not enough money to support everybody, but I think the committee has done a very good job, and so recommend and thank them on the job they've done.
Councillor Bickey. Any other comments? No. No. Councillors, we have a recommendation that council authorise the chief executive officer to notify the Virtual Cropping Group of their successful application of the Tourism Business Innovation Grants Program Round 1. 2, authorise the chief executive officer to approve payment of a grant contribution totaling $30,000 to the Virtual Cropping Group under the round one of the Tourism Business Innovation Grants Program, round one. And 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to notify unsuccessful applicants of the outcome. Do I have someone to move that recommendation, please, councillors? Councillor Getty to move, Councillor Stewart to second. Any opposition, councillors? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. Look, I'd just like to echo Mrs. Hughes' words. It's pleasing that when we have these sorts of things, we can call on expertise from outside the shop. There is still those people out there that freely give of their time, and we're very grateful for them. And it's Bernard, Darby and David pass on our best, because I think, you know, without that input, again, it keeps it open, transparent, and it's, if you like, yeah, a good asset going forward. 8.2.4, the draft asset plan. Thank you, Mrs. Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, the report presented to the council this evening outlines for the information of council the steps that staff have undertaken over recent weeks to commence community engagement in the development of the asset plan. The requirement to develop and maintain an asset plan covering a minimum period of at least 10 years was introduced as a key component of the Integrated Strategic Framework under the Local Government Act 2020, was due by the 30th of June this year. As part of the plan, council acknowledges that effective asset management planning is required to support and enhance economic, social and environmental sustainability for the Buloke Shire. And as such, it's important to ensure that developing a higher level document of this nature, that the council works to provide the community with information about the context of our asset management planning processes prior to undertaking the specific and detailed work across each asset class to determine current and future needs and how these assets link to equity services. Council staff presented the draft plan to the community during the community summit this year, and comments and questions that were received from the community in relation to each of those asset classes on the night has been incorporated into the draft asset plan presented this evening. The draft plan is now available for further feedback from the community via the council's website, and all comments and views will be considered and referenced in a report to council at its meeting 29th of June 2022. This report recommends the council notes the community engagement undertaken to date in relation to the draft asset plan.
Thank you, Mrs. Hughes. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Getley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not a question so much, but a comment. It's an extensive document. It just shows the assets that we do have and we have to maintain. I would urge that the ratepayers have a look at that, and the general public have a look at that and comment if they would, and just get an idea of what we need to do going forward. And it's a very complete and full document. Congratulations, Mrs. Hughes.
Any other comments or observations, Councillor Stewart?
I think the most important sentence in that document is in regards to prioritising expenditure on asset via a capital evaluation process. And I think that's something that going forward, we really need to, in future, when we're looking at our budgets, actually concentrate on that a bit more, rather than having projects and things like that jump to queue. We really do need to stick to that evaluation process and prioritise our expenditure accordingly.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Any other comment, Councillor?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment. I think a very sincere document and a very thought-provoking document. And I think we can see the level of buy-in that we might get from the community by some of the letters in the local papers in recent days as to what they think should happen to some of their assets. And I guess, you know, this will be no easy task moving forward through a document like this. And will take a long time to get it right because of the number of assets we do have. And the planning we need to do for the future with the spend that's required to keep them. So a very important document, and I think, you know, it'll outsee us as a council, and probably outsee the next council as well, and still be trying to get it right, you know. So there'll be a lot of work to go on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, if there are no other questions or comments or statements, we do have a recommendation that council acknowledge the release of the draft asset plan for public comment. Can I someone move that acknowledgement, please? Councillor Stewart, you moved. Councillor Councillor Simpson, seconded. Thank you, Councillor Simpson.
Thank you.
How's your COVID protocol going up there? All good?
Fine, thank you.
Terrific. Any opposition, councillors? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. (8.3) Financial reports. There are no financial reports. 8.4 Organisational reports. There are none. 8.5. So over to the council. Reports from councils. I'll start with Councillor Gatley tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, during the month, I attended the Wimmera Southern Valley Transport Group, first live meeting since I've been a councillor, but it's all been COVID. Regional Roads Victoria were a winner out of the budget with a $485 million spend to happen. The highlight, as I mentioned in another meeting, was the Birch of Warwick to Bill Road. I did ask the question of what section of that or what was going to be done with that road. The Department of Transport are going to get back to me on that. Interesting month with the streetscape at Sea Lake. A number of phone hookups there with the PCG, and ultimately I was invited along with Councillor Viz, who I attended work commitments, to meet with the PCG contractors and Mr. McLaughlin on site, in Sea Lake. I would like to commend the work of Mr. McLaughlin to go through that project, to clearly state to both the PCG and the contractors what was to be come out of that program. And whilst there's still some problems up there, it's been worked through, and it was a well worthwhile meeting. Attended the Advanced Sea Lake monthly meeting and also the Caldoa Development Group. And out of that, I attended a meeting virtually with the Mallee CMA on their water return to the Weirpool and Billabong project. And there'll be more on that later. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Neil.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to mention the biggest morning tea that I was able to attend in Watcham. Turned down a couple of invitations, but Watcham, run by Ray Colbert, raised over $2,000 this year, which is a pretty good result. Had the first of the fire management planning committee meetings for some time, where we talked about getting those or that committee back up and running under its new guise, I guess. There was to be the first of the planning meetings tomorrow, but there's been insufficient requests or replies to run that, so it's been put off for another week. It's to be held here in the Witchy Fire Station. Unfortunately, it does clash with something else that I had on, but there's a list of invitees that were invited, and as I said, only two responded. So, a bit of work to be done there. The Wimmera Valley Tourism Board met, and that board is going through a process of aligning itself in some way, shape or form with Wimmera Development Association. We have had meetings with those guys this week we've signed a memorandum of understanding, but we still haven't signed it because we're still trying to work out how the plan's going to work. And we also had a meeting with our marketing guru who put up a marketing proposal for Wimmera Valley Tourism Board on the 31st, and that now has had some work done on it to feed into the strategy that we're trying to put up for the next 12 months, 2 years, before the visitor economy things might come into play. So there's a lot of work going on there, and there's a bit of money coming their way in that situation to spend. We're looking for another tourism officer with the resignation of Sarah Ellis, and those hopefully that position will be advertised next week, thereabouts. So there's a lot more to happen in that space, which I've missed a call from Bernard Young tonight, who's on the board and delegated to, we have delegated to work with WDA. And the last thing was a little bit interesting. The last thing I want to mention is we had a meeting at the Virtue Silo Monday. Virtue Silo with Kyle from Graincore and had a good response with regard to silo art on that particular location. And there's some agreements been done, and we were represented there by Trevor as well, and some good outcomes to happen there, I think. And we should be able to move that forward, I would think, in time to come. So what we're asking for now is letter of support, probably from Graincore, to say that they're happy with the concept, which then might allow fundraising to happen for the Virtue Silo Art Committee. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Simpson.
Nothing of note to report this month, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pollock. Councillor Stewart.
I'd just like to bring attention to an informal budget submission that I've received from a representative of the Truth Reserve Committee. So due to time constraints, they were unable to meet to provide a formal submission. However, they've expressed their disappointment at having undertaken extensive work to produce a master plan for the area, which was endorsed by us in February, but none of the actions identified to progress this project have been identified in the budget. So I think we need to provide the Representative Committee with an updated status of that plan and to discuss with them the project overall and how we can progress, in particular on some of those urgent issues such as the condition and availability of public toilets. And yeah, so just basically I think we need to let the Representative Committee know what is happening with that project and where it's at, given it's been going on for a fair while.
Thanks, Councillor Stewart. Councillors, I've been sort of somewhat occupied with family matters this month, and I would acknowledge the support from my fellow councillors that have been helping me out. Much appreciated, councillors, very much appreciated. But I did in there go to two things I think of interest. I was invited down to Hobson's Bay Council to the launch of their Hobson's Bay One, which is a new initiative that they've started, which takes the council to the libraries. So any service you can do at the headquarters of the council offices, you can do at the library. They've upskilled their staff. They've, if you like, cross-trained them so that they're aware of the issues that you would need to do, whether they be planning or rates collection or issues about dogs or immunisation or whatever it might be, so that you can basically go to your local library, transact your council business at the one spot without having to set foot in the main area. And I just thought it was an interesting use of facilities, staff, particularly staff that's there. And I mean, given, I suppose, our history here at the Buloke Shire in the last little while, it's something that may be worth investigating and having a chat to Hobson's Bay about, that we do have libraries going as an outreach to our communities. And I mean, even if it's a simple thing like having a set of dog registration forms or whatever, or well, these days with an FPOS machine, whatever, you might be able to pay an account there. So look, I just think it'd be good for staff to have a chat to Hobson's Bay. We do have that relationship, which is was very interesting. I mean, the only thing is, you go down there and they have a launch. They had clowns, they had magicians, they had everything. They had more food than you could poke a stick at. I mean, talk about the poor cousins. I mean, you know, we're lucky to get a couple of Cookers biscuits if we're really stretching. But anyway, you know, how the others live is always very interesting on my down. The other thing, and I think this harks back to our housing unit at the moment. I was approached some time ago by a firm of architects in Melbourne who work exclusively with Monash University graduate students. There was a meeting coordinated between myself, River Development Association, Monash University and the architects. They're very keen to look at housing proposal and projects in the Buloke Shire, particularly in Donald. And what they're proposing is a study which will give the kids at the architecture school some actual, real hands-on experience. This would be done at no cost and coordinated with WDA and various other bodies. So Wayne Street would be a significant player there. But I think the outcome is that we would get a body of work at no cost to us, which, I mean, we all know the biggest thing when you're dealing with government is they're looking for, if you like, the business plan, the business case, etc. And I think this is so. What they're proposing is actually coming and doing probably a field work for a week. So they'll come up and they'll stay. I mean, this is no cost to us, and they'll be able to see firsthand and use us as a case study to the state government and to funding bodies, which I think is, it's really good given where we sit in this area. We've heard from John tonight the issues with housing. Yeah. At least we'll have something on the ground that we can throw our hat on and hopefully follow. So, look, I'll provide staff with that report as I usually do. But again, I just reiterate and thank my fellow councillors for their support in the last month. It's good to have that support around us. So, and also the staff. So good, thank you. So 8.6, matters which may exclude the public. There are none at this stage. 9, other business. 9.1, a notice of motion. We have a notice of motion proposed. I'll go up to point. Councillor Pollard, that's your name.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to introduce this one. It's basically in relation to projects' ongoing annual costs. These costs should have been considered in project development. There's been several attempts to have these ongoing costs presented to council, and to my knowledge, these have not been addressed.
Can you get my message?
What message?
Yeah.
In making this decision, councillors should be fully aware of these costs, as they may have the potential to influence future budgets of this council and the next councils ongoing. The information presented initially, when I was only in real draft form, I actually put some numbers together. I got the shock of my life because we potentially could be looking to an annual outlay in excess of 40,000. That could be completely wrong. That's why I want these numbers done over more accurate. If this figure is correct, this could seriously impact council's capacity in funding our ongoing footpath, drainage, and road maintenance requirements, as well as having the potential for the need to increase rate revenue above the legislative rate cap, which is a concern when our rates are so high as it is. So I'd like to move that council temporarily remove the proposed Colgate dump point from the capital works project list until we have the following information is received. We have a full annual operational cost of the transportation of the waste, determine where the annual operating expenditure fits into our budget. If there is any traffic management issues in accessing the dump point, can we please have them? How many overflows happen before we receive EPA infringement notices? Because as we heard briefly the other night, we're getting some septic issues at another location. Are there any environmental issues with the proximity of the waterway just down the road? Which comes to make me think, is that the best location? Beside the hall, the best location for this? Could it be shifted further from the waterway to try and minimise some environmental issues? Can we see a design of the proposed dump point? I've been looking through the old briefing notes and the ones I went at, and I haven't been able to find a design of it, because I'm concerned about the amount of slot of pipe, if the slot of pipe's being used. Because when I built years ago, I had to find 96 metres and that was in the sand. So I don't know what to do there in the clay. Has there been a completed cost benefit analysis to give us an idea of the cost of the benefit? And when all this information is available, can be presented back to a future open council meeting for a debate to put whether it's reinserted back into the budget.
Thank you, councillor. You're moving that recommendation. Thank you. Do we have a second for the councillor Stewart to second that? Councillors, do we have any opposition? Councillor Gifford?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, this community asset project was brought to council in a listening post.
Hang on, point of order, Mr Mayor. It's been moved, seconded, I get the first charge.
Sorry, you're correct, yes, okay.
First of all, I believe this is a good project. And that's why I'm only asking it to be temporarily removed. But can council really afford the ongoing costs? When we have a rapidly deteriorating road network, as we've seen with the Brung Road in the lower Baker Ward, just the other side of Charlton, which is a link road, which is after a rain is very unsafe for driving. It's a school bus route as well. We have the Quambatook Narrowlink Road, as per emails that have just come through, where you can't drive a two-wheel drive vehicle after a rain event. It struggles to keep a four-wheel drive on the road because it usually slides up into the table drain, as per video information. It's starting to look like, I'll be honest, we're starting to offer our rural ratepayers only lip service when our road network is starting to really deteriorate, as we keep increasing council's operating costs with some of our projects. I'm aware this project will contribute to economic development of our shire, but our rural road network is also required to maintain viability and economic development of our farming
Point of order,
enterprises.
Mr Mayor, that's not relevant to the motion. He's speaking against the things that this was supposed to be just taken out of the budget, and he's just speaking against that on roads. So, Mr Mayor, I don't believe it's relevant.
No,
No, you don't believe it's relevant, Mr Getley, Councillor Getley, because of costs involved with maintaining a road network. And where are we going to get the funds from? It's going to come out of our road.
Excuse me, Councillor Pollard, you're speaking to the motion. Councillor Getley, Councillor Pollard will continue to speak to the motion. He's moved it.
As I said in the other bit, as well as that, our farming enterprise will actually contribute more than 70% of our road income. As I said before, that I haven't been able to find a proposed design to comment on, but do we have any road management issues with the location? As a design, as with the location and the design, these can increase installation costs, or they might be included in installation, I don't know. I personally see environmental issues at this site, with the potential overflow is great, with septic or collection tanks. If they overflow, it can produce an odour and can pollute the waterway. That's why I wonder if this is actually the best location. If we decide this project is affordable, I'll put some options forward for consideration to fund the ongoing costs in operating or keeping this thing. Could be included into the waste charge, as it is a type of waste product, which worries me because that's the whole charge is against subsidising. A special charge on Colgoa rates, which isn't fair on the community, it's only a small community. We can lower some of the subsidies in filling lakes and recreation reserves, but I think they're very important for economic development, and rec reserves are very important for the health and wellbeing of our communities. Is Colgoa community supporting some of the ongoing costs? Or do we have to remove some footpaths from our asset list to cover it? Or is it just by increasing our operational budget even more that we have to hit our road funding yet again? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Stewart?
I think that Councillor Pollard has raised some very important concerns, and some that I've actually raised myself previously. And given the problems that we've had with establishing a dump point at Green Lake, particularly due to the EPA concerns, because it's also a connection to the septic system, and the lack of forthcoming data and information that we've asked for and haven't received, I don't believe we've done our due diligence in regards to this project to be able to keep it in the budget. As I've raised before, projects should be fully scoped before accepting it into the budget, so that the full cost can be established before committing budget funding. Or we not only risk cost overruns that affect our ability to provide our project and services, but we also risk not complying with our requirements under the Local Government Act for informed, transparent and accountable decision making. So the Local Government Act requires us to undertake responsible spending and investment that ensures financial, social and environmental sustainability. So without knowing those ongoing costs and the other information, the impact on the environment, etc., we're not able to assess that impact on the rest of the community and all of our ratepayers. As Councillor Pollard said about the waste charge, that's something that really concerns me, because waste is a full cost recovery item. The ongoing costs will need to be passed on to ratepayers through the waste charge, obviously on their rate bill. So I'm concerned about how much that will be. Will it be just for the Colgoa community that wears that extra charge, or will it be the whole of the ratepayer base? As we're always saying, rates are already high enough without imposing any additional charges. So we really do need to be able to assess any unintended consequences and weigh up any additional imposts on our ratepayers before submitting this project into the budget. So yeah, I'm happy to have another look at it and make sure that we're happy with all those concerns before it gets brought back in.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any opposition, Councillor Gifford?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, this community asset project was brought to council at the listening post in January 2021 by the Colgoa Development Group. It's high on their community plan as of strategic importance to the financial well-being of Colgoa. In January 2022, at our first budget meeting, we asked that this project be included in the Capital Works program for 22-23. And during subsequent budget meetings, no concern about annual costs have ever been raised. In Councillor Pollard's motion, he mentions annual costs of excess of $40,000. I'm unsure how that figure was arrived at and don't know if this figure is at best fanciful or misleading at worst, and is not in line with the figures provided by staff in our budget briefings. The figures provided by us by the staff during the planning progress, the data shows that at the Charlton dump point, 22 dumpings produced 323 litres of waste. Based on these figures alone, it will take 341 dumpings to fill the tank. And as staff have told us, and have told us again last week at the briefing, to empty the tank, it's $2,500. Put this into context, we're going to need 15 pump outs or 5,115 dumpings a year to even get close to $40,000 annual cost. The dump point project has been through the full budgetary process. It's been scoped out, it's been planned, it's been designed, and Mrs. Hugh has told us it's fully costed. I can't support this motion, and in my opinion, all it does is put more red tape and delays in a vital capital works project. This motion is short on fact, and if passed, sets a dangerous precedent for this budget and any further budgets. Thank you.
Councillor Gifford. Yeah. Any other councillors who would like to speak?
Yes, Mr Mayor,
Absolutely, Councillor.
I guess my well, the dilemma I've got is why is it had to come to a notice of motion when there was, I guess, plenty of opportunity in budget deliberations to raise all these points, and I guess I've heard that they have been raised, and I acknowledge that. But probably I disagree with the thought that they haven't all been answered. I mean, I think that a lot of the questions have been answered here, and I think we could go through a lot of the budget items in any of the asset area, and they'll throw up at any stage. They'll throw up costs that we're not expecting. I guess I don't necessarily have a lot of faith in those figures that Councillor Pollard has used, and I'm not calling him a liar by any means, but I just think that the information that he might have got is somewhat now out of date, in that we've heard from officers that some of the costings and prices for waste removal and that sort of stuff is a bit less than that, but it does make you wonder at worst case scenario what costs will be. To continually draw on the taking it out of the roads budget to me is starting to get a bit monotonous, because we do give a lot of thought to our roads budget, and we continually put money into it. And last year we increased that roads budget quite significantly. We will never get on top of it as long as we're not funded properly from external sources. While we have a responsibility to spend our money wisely, I think that something of this nature has probably got a very minimal effect on the road budget or other asset budget going forward. And from my point of view, to leave it in the budget, we can still say no to it at some stage if the costs become too prohibitive. Just because it's in the budget doesn't mean it always has to happen. So that's my thoughts on it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Simpson, do you have any comment?
Just that I can't see why it can't stay in the budget. If we get some different costings, then that's something that we will consider on the 29th of June, together with all of the other budget submissions. And this has been a long and ongoing discussion, and is high on the priority list of a small community that is trying to survive.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Shane hasn't got a reply. I think the chair probably has some response. Well, this is the consideration. No, Councillor Collard, you have the right. Thank you.
Thanks, councillors, for all the information. To start off with, we're not taking it out of the budget. I haven't asked for it to come out of the budget. I've just asked it to be removed from the capital works this temporarily until we find this information out. As far as being an asset, this is a new asset, which is 100% funded by council, not with grants. A lot of our projects, as we're looking at, as our assets that we've got to maintain. And if you look at basically the rest of our budget, there isn't anything else I'd look at quickly that was 100% funded by us that was new. Everything, all other new ones have been funded supported by grant funding. The 40,000, I will be honest, I wasn't comfortable with it, but that's why I brought it into the open. Because if it is, and we don't know, it's a concern. The other one is that I'm just trying to find out, Macedon Range has had a dump point here on Waterway, and I believe it's been decommissioned, but I can't prove that at this stage. And if that's the case, I think it was the ongoing costs as why it was decommissioned. And they've got a lot more rate revenue than what Buloke has. I know it's a broken record about where else does the funding come from, whether it comes from the road network. Budgets are worked out very simply. Income, less operating expenses. If we start pushing up operating expenses, we do less capital works. Roads are a huge capital works, and they're the easiest ones to knock on the head with funding. So I'd just like everyone to consider, as I said, I'm not asking it to be removed from the budget, I'm just asking for it to be temporarily removed from the capital works projects list until we find this information to make a well-decided decision.
Thank you, Councillor Pollard. So, councillors, we've heard from all councillors. We have a recommendation before us. The recommendation is that council temporarily remove the proposed Colgoa dump point from the capital works project list until the following information is received. 1, a full annual operational cost of transporting waste. Determine where the annual operating expenditure fits into our budget. Are there any traffic management issues to access the dump point? How many overflows happen before we receive EPA infringement notice, and at what cost? Are there any environmental issues with the proximity to the waterway? DLP. The election's over, Daryl. DELP and CMA. Is the location of the side of the hall the best location? Could it be shifted further from the waterway to minimise environmental issues? Design of the proposed dump point. Has a complete cost benefit analysis been prepared? And 9, when all the information is available, that it is presented back to a future open council meeting for debate. So we have that recommendation, councillors. Councillors, I will put that recommendation to vote. All those in favour? All those against? Councillor Simpson, are you for or against the motion?
Can I abstain?
You can. You
Thank
can.
you.
And councillors, I believe that motion is carried. Thank you.
Call for
councillors.
division, Mr Mayor.
Certainly. All those in favour? Councillor Pollard, Councillor Stewart and Councillor Warren. Those against? Councillor Getley and Councillor Milne. Councillor Simpson has abstained. Thank you, councillors. 9.1.2, notice of motion, letter support Sea Lake Off-Road Club Mallee Rally, Lake Shore. Councillor Getley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, the off-road club at Sea Lake have been working very hard since they've not allowed to run on the Lake Tyrrell site. They have got a site on the eastern side that is predominantly on private property. It's partly in the Swan Hill Shire and partly in the Buloke Shire. They are seeking a letter of support from us for this to go to the Swan Hill Shire. And the recommendation is that we send a letter of support in principle to the Off-Road Racing Club endorsing endeavour to have the rally returned to the site of Lake Tyrrell, but not the actual old site for 2023 and beyond. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Getley. Any questions, councillors? Start.
Can I just clarify that we're not endorsing whatever route that they choose to take? We're just saying that in principle, we are supporting them to explore the opportunities at Tyrrell. That's right.
So we have a recommendation. No, just Councillor Milne to second.
I'm happy to second.
Yeah, Councillor Milne. Councillors, any opposition to this recommendation? No. I'll put the recommendation. The council send a letter of support in principle to the Sea Lake Off-Road Club's endeavour to have the Mallee Rally return to the site of the Lake Tyrrell from 2023 and beyond. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Councillors, questions from the public? We haven't been, questions from councillors, 9.2. Do we have any questions from councillors? No, thank you. 9.3, urgent business. We've been advised of none. 9.4, any other business? None have been advised. That draws the meeting to a close. Thank you for your attendance tonight. And that's around about, thank you very much, Mr. O'Toole. Thank you very much, councillors, and our next meeting will be in July 3rd. Thank you, and thank you.